There's my bunch. How's
Hello.
everybody?
Good. I
Hey,
have
how
no
are
idea
you?
what I did to my camera.
You didn't slide that little slide over top of it, did you? I did that one time and had to call tech support. That's
Yes, I think I did that. Hold on, let me
felt like
check.
an idiot. I'm serious. I bought a new computer and I couldn't. It looked like that. And I went through the camera setup. I did everything in the world. I said, you know, there's a little slide filter that you just take your thumb and move over. I said, no, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yep, I learned that the hard way. Well, welcome everybody. It's good to see everybody tonight. We start the new book tonight, Bowman and Deal, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So Pauline has edged ahead as the star of the week on the points lead. She's just barely edged out in a tie for second. Lauren, Chiquetta, Loretta, Sandy, and Karis. So y'all are wearing it out. Men, we need to step up. Where's my two partners at now? They're gonna have to step up.
Maybe they're somewhere working on their work.
Yeah, I hope they are. And congratulations to Lauren, Karis, and Pauline, who have now completed their EDP, along with our previous stars, Chiquetta and Loretta. So y'all are wearing it out. I'm so excited. So that's our stars of the week. You know, I read all this work. I enjoy it. Now I don't do a lot of notes back at this level, like we do at the master's level. I guess y'all have figured that out by now. It's more about y'all are individual. This is individual stuff. And so I hate making those blanket statements that you know that they had AI write for them. You know, if I have a concern, we talk about it in class. You know how that's the way it works. I always bring it. We find a way to get to the stuff that matters when we're together and we can talk about it and not be on video. Because some of it is kind of pointed, and that's true. And it's supposed to be. We're supposed to talk about reality. We're not supposed to talk about just theoretical stuff. That doesn't do us very much good. We need to talk about the real and what is. So tonight, again, without any further ado, we'll get to Bowman and Deal. Let me share my screen. Let's look at our weekly schedule and see where we are. I think we meet 3 weeks in a row now. And then we'll meet one last time, and we got to talk about that, our last meeting. So looking at the weekly schedule. So again, we meet tonight the 24th, and then the 31st, and then the 7th. So 1, 2, 3. When we finish our book, we'll be ready to meet on the 16th and 17th in Goldsboro. We got to figure out what we're going to do to eat. Is there a place there at campus where we could take a meal to, a lunch to, something like that? I don't know if they've got a lounge where they allow food or not. They're really strict about not bringing food to the rooms. I confess I don't know. I've worked there a million times. There was a place when we worked in the front building where we could go and do that, but I don't know that there's one in our building.
What about like the benches outside?
Yeah, but it's going to be the middle of November. Of course, it could be 90 degrees in Goldsboro, or it could be 30.
Okay.
Now they've got a little farmers market over there back in the back. Have y'all seen that? It's about a quarter of a mile across the back of the parking lot. I went over there. They got a little farmers market over there, and they don't have meals, but they've got some places over there. But we need to figure that out, because I know y'all don't want to give up your night. So we need to figure out a place that we can go to, either on campus, or maybe we could take time on Saturday and go somewhere close by and get a sandwich or something. But we need to break bread together. That's always a part of it. We got to do that. And I'm buying, so don't worry about that part. That'd be good. It's so easy in Charlotte. We own our own building, and I've got an account with Jason, so we just have Jason's Deli for lunch there. So it's easy. And I hate that we've already eaten, both of my other groups. We've already had our lunchtime meal at our middle class, and so we'll do this one at the last class, the last supper, the last lunch. So I'll try to figure out if there's a place, but I'll let you know next week what we're going to do. But I got to be working on that. That's the most important thing. All right, so looking at our schedule again, we've got 3 nights of Bowman and Deal, and then we got our last weekend together. Let's look at who's presenting tonight. All right, here we go. This is Zoom class 5. So we've got Lauren, Jimmy, and Shaquetta doing chapters 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 of the Bowman and Deal book. So Lauren, if you're ready, I'll stop my share. And y'all can just jump right in.
All right. I think I've got everything unmuted now. Can you guys see my screen?
We can see and hear you.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
good.
Now I've got to move you guys so I can see my slides.
Yeah, that's what I have to do too.
There we go. All right. So I have chapters 1 and 2 of Bowman and Deal's Reframing Organizations. And kind of as I was reading these chapters and beyond, we're going to just look at some essential insights as to how leaders can kind of better navigate complex organizations by viewing them through different perspectives and how that will help us lead organizations. So we all know that organizations are rarely straightforward, right? They're unpredictable. They're kind of filled with ambiguity. And so as leaders, we cannot approach these challenges with kind of a singular mindset, because if we do, we're going to miss the key aspects of the problems that these organizations face, which is really why reframing is so critical. And so what Bowman and Deal mean by that is just viewing the same situation from multiple perspectives. We have to use different frames so that we can uncover innovative solutions that probably wouldn't be visible if we were using a narrow kind of one-dimensional view to approach various challenges within our schools or districts or organizations. So what I'm kind of doing over the next 8 slides or so is just kind of looking at how we can reframe and how that will help improve our decision-making and adaptability in leadership. So Bowman and Deal kind of say that there are 4 primary ways that leaders should kind of analyze or address organizational issues, and they call these frames. And so I've listed each of them for you on the slide. The first is the structural frame. This is kind of the rational, rule-based perspective. We kind of think of the frame as the organization's architecture. It emphasizes order and hierarchy. There are very clear roles and responsibilities. And so leaders who rely on this frame focus on structure. We focus on policy, focus on efficiency. The second frame is the human resource frame. And this focuses on the human side of the organization. So we emphasize people and relationships and their needs. As leaders who use this frame, we kind of believe that if you take care of your people are going to take care of the organization. And so this frame is really essential when we're thinking about employee morale, motivation, and team building. The third frame is the political frame. And in any organization, in any school district, in any school, there's going to be different interests that are competing for resources, that are competing for influence. And so using this frame, we kind of focus on the power dynamics, conflicts, we build alliances, we navigate conflicts and kind of build coalitions. When we're using this frame, we negotiate very successfully to kind of create what we are looking for within the organization. And then the fourth frame is the symbolic frame. And this deals with the culture of the organization. So we focus on symbols and rituals and meaning. Leaders who use this frame create a sense of purpose or identity for their organization by fostering a strong culture. And so we specifically pay attention to ceremonies, traditions, and values that define your organization. And so each of these frames kind of offers a different way that we can view a situation. And as leaders, if we can shift between these frames, we're going to be much more effective in leadership positions. So why does this matter? Reframing is important because it helps us avoid kind of what they refer to as tunnel vision. When leaders get stuck looking at problems from only one perspective. And so, you know, an example of this might be if a school is struggling with student behavior and the leader only uses a structural frame, they're just going to add more rules and consequences to address the problem. But if they consider kind of a human resource frame, you might say, well, what do teachers need? Do they need more support, or do they need better relationships with students? What can I do from the people side of it? If we use kind of a symbolic frame to address student behavior, you might say that the school's culture doesn't value respect or inclusivity. So what can we do in that aspect? And so kind of by looking at a problem through multiple frames, leaders can discover solutions that you might not have considered otherwise. Taking this approach can foster creativity. It will help us think outside the box, and it will build adaptability, which we all know is extremely important in our ever-changing school environments. So chapter 2 of Bowman and Deal, they emphasize that organizations are inherently complex. There are often conflicting goals. You know, we hear all the time that we need to increase our academic performance, but we also need to focus on student well-being and parent and community partnerships. And so sometimes these goals might conflict with each other. And so in a lot of cases, as school or district leaders, we face ambiguity where not all the information is clear. The path forward is often uncertain. And one of the ways that kind of as leaders we get stuck is if we try and simplify things, because complexity can be overwhelming. But Bowman and Deal argue that as leaders, we've got to embrace the complexity. We can't shy away from it. And when we try to oversimplify, we're going to miss out on kind of the nuances that are crucial for effective decision making. And so instead of oversimplifying, as leaders, we need to be comfortable working within the complexity, which is where that reframing becomes useful. All right, so cognitive biases in decision making. Another important kind of point that chapter 2 makes is that we never have perfect information. When making decisions, we all kind of rely on the stuff in our head, the mental shortcuts, and it can lead to some cognitive biases that we might have. So, you know, there are times where we might be overconfident in our ability to solve problems. There are other times where we might focus too narrowly on like one piece of information. We're missing the bigger picture. We're not kind of seeing the whole thing. And Bowman and Deal emphasize that if we use multiple frames, that we can overcome some of these biases. And so when you can consciously switch frames from which you're viewing situations, then you are forcing yourself to view it from different angles. And this will reduce the impact of any one bias in your decision making or trying to change or move your organization forward. We all know that organizations, that schools, school districts are extremely complex. And oftentimes, if we try to view them through a single lens, it's going to be misunderstood. And so if we rely only on one way of thinking about problems, whether we just focus on the structure or the people or the politics or the culture, we're oversimplifying. And so Bowman and Deal say that this is why reframing is so powerful. It really helps leaders kind of embrace the complexity rather than ignore it. When I was kind of thinking about, problems that face all schools or districts across our state, one of the main things that I thought of was low teacher retention. If we look at this problem structurally, one might ask, are my roles or expectations clear, or do I not have clear expectations, and that's why teachers are leaving the school? Or if we take a human resource perspective, we're going to ask, are our teachers feeling supported? Do they feel valued? If we use kind of the political frame, we would be asking, is there conflict over resources or support? And then the symbolic frame, we would question whether the culture of the school honors and appreciates teachers. And so if we are able to move between these frames as a leader, we can get a more complete picture of what is really going on within our school building. So just an example of reframing, hypothetical example would be one of resource conflict within a school. So another kind of real example that I think many of us have had to face over the past year or two is if, schools and school district budgets are being cut, there's not enough money for all departments. And so if you look at this issue through a structural frame, you're going to try and enforce strict policies about how the budget is allocated. But if you take a more human resource frame, you're going to focus on the impact that it has on staff morale and how to support them during these tough times. A political frame is going to help you navigate some competing interests and negotiate compromises between departments. And then if you can view this from a symbolic frame, you are going to help maintain the school or the school district's identity and mission, even in times of uncertainty and scarcity. So as a leader, if you can use all four frames, you just get a fuller understanding of the problem as well as potential solutions to the problem. And so I've listed just 3 key kind of takeaways and summarizing this for you. Reframing allows leaders to view challenges from different angles, and it provides tools to tackle organizational issues more effectively. If you can understand and apply the 4 frames, then you can improve your decision-making, you can avoid biases, embrace complexity of your organization. But really, I think my big takeaway from these 2 chapters is that leadership requires flexibility, and there's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And we have to use multiple perspectives in order to be successful leaders within our organization. And then a few questions just for you to reflect on is I've listed them for you. So do you tend to rely on one frame? Well, okay, how have you seen these 4 frames play out in your own schools and school districts? Do you tend to rely on one frame more than another? How might that be limiting your perspective? And by becoming more aware of the frames that you naturally gravitate towards, you can work on developing a more flexible approach to leadership. So I will open that up. It's, that pretty much summarizes 1 and 2. If we want to have a discussion around kind of what frames you see within either you as a leader or how you see your school or district respond to situations, I'm happy to open it up for discussion at this time.
I'm trying to get it to pull up here. And of course, nothing ever works. There it is. All right. 4 frames play out. All right. Which frames you rely on the most? How might this limit your effectiveness? Well, you can stop your share for a minute here. I want to talk about Monty Hall. All right. We hadn't talked about Monty Hall. We talk about Monty Hall when it comes to confirmation bias, cognitive bias, all of those biases. We need to talk about Monty Hall. Who knows who Monty Hall was? He's been replaced by Wayne Brady. Any of y'all watch TV in the mornings? But you know the TV show Let's Make a Deal? All right. So the most famous of the games on Let's Make a Deal was Monty Hall's Three Doors. So they had three doors, and the contestant had to pick one of the three doors. Now, behind the three doors, there was a car worth $50,000. There's $10,000 in cash, and behind the third door, there's a goat. So you either going to get a car, $10,000, or a goat. All right, James,
Yes,
which
sir.
door are you going to pick? Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3.
I will pick door number 3, Mr. Hall.
All right, door number 3. James has picked door number 3. All right, I'm going to reveal door number 1. Behind door number 1 was $10,000. So you've got door number 3. So you've either got a car or a goat. Both of them are transportation. Do you want to keep door number 3, or do you want to switch to door number 2?
I'm gonna keep door number 3.
All right, that's the wrong answer, James. Thanks for playing along. What would the right answer be? You would always switch to door number 2. Why? Probability. When you chose, you had a 1 in 3 probability of hitting the car. If you'll switch, you've got a 2 in 3 probability of hitting the car. That's the way the probability works. Not a half. Your odds just went from 33 to 66 that you got the car if you switch. Now, my friend and neighbor, John Petroselli, has authored several articles and even a book. He's got TED Talks. His latest is Detecting the Art of BS, but he wrote one for Popular Science and Psychology on the Monty Hall three-door theory. He's a professor. Well, when I first met him, he was just getting started out as an assistant professor. He's a full professor at Wake Forest now. He's my neighbor just down the street. And so he's a psychology professor. So he ran this undergraduates at Wake Forest. One of the ladies in my other class was in the experiment, by the way. She was an undergraduate at Wake Forest, and she took part. They have to volunteer as undergraduates. They have to volunteer for so many of these. And so she was one of the volunteers. And so she confirmed that I wasn't just making this story up. That was neat. I didn't even know that. So anyway, he runs this, and they run this simulation 100 times in each session. And then they do the reveal. And so generally it works out. 2/3 of the time they get it right. They get the car, and 1/3 they get the goat. But when you go back and ask them what the ratio was, they think it's like 10-1 that they got the goat if they switched. People have a mental aversion to, I had it right, but I changed. Oh my God, that's a lot worse than, so that's why people have an aversion to change. That's called a cognitive bias. They don't want to change. They overestimate the value of their experience. Cognitive bias. I've always been successful. I've always thought of it this way. I'm afraid if I change, I'll get it wrong. If I'll just stick with it, I'll get it right. It'll eventually, my ship will eventually come in. If I just keep on playing the same number in the lottery, I'll eventually win. That's cognitive bias. And it's a mental thing that develops within us. We do the things that are safe. And if we ever change and get it wrong, once we had it right, if we just stuck to our guns, that is so deeply ingrained in our psyche that it actually damages our confidence and our psyche to the point where it leaves a permanent mental scar on us. And that's what John was able to show in his research, that it's such a significant emotional event to have something right, but then change your mind and get it wrong, that people go with their gut rather than data. What's the data say? You should change every time. Probability. What's your gut say? I know I'm right. That's cognitive bias. That's the part that we have to deal with. That we don't go by data. We don't go by best practices. We stick with what we know. If we'll just stay with it, if we'll just see it through, it'll work out in the end. That overconfidence in our own ability, that's what Lauren was talking about. That's how it manifests itself. It's not, you think, well, I have way more confidence than ability, but the whole notion here, it's not an ego thing. It's that you're trying to protect yourself. It's that you overestimate your own ability, not so much through ego, but through experience. That gut feeling that oh, I've got 20 years of experience, and that's what makes you overconfident. It also brings you a measure of safety, but that's what cognitive bias is. And so that's why we do things like we always done them, because they're safe mentally, they don't harm us. There's not near as much mental damage if we picked the wrong thing and stuck with it, and it was wrong, the goat was behind door number 3. James will laugh that off. But what if it was behind number 1 and it was behind number 3 and he had switched? That's a whole lot more damaging. The negative outweighs the positive in this. If you change and get it wrong, that's a significant thing. It damages you. It leads to you never wanting to change, always going with your gut, never going with data, never going with probability. You always stick to your guns. That's why people don't change. They stick to their guns. So that's the deal. That's cognitive bias. It's also confirmation bias. What's confirmation bias? That's when a group of people do the same, do the cognitive bias, and they become an echo chamber of yes men and women. And we look for that consensus. And so we gather people around us who will give us that consensus. But if you do what you always did, what will you get? What you always got. And that's kind of the bottom line on this chapter is we have to reframe. We have to look through a different lens. We have to put aside our fear and our bias, whether it's cognitive from ourselves or confirmation from the group, which is just group cognitive bias. That's all confirmation bias is group cognitive bias. We have to put that stuff aside, and we have to follow the data. We have to follow the information. One more point from Lauren's presentation. We do get conflicting information from our districts about what's important. But that's pretty traceable. That's pretty easy to figure out. Whatever is causing them pain at that moment is, according to them, is the most important. You could say, but last week that doesn't matter. That was last week. This week's pain is coming from this. And so always understand this week's hot thing, or the thing that matters, is wherever the complaints are coming from. That's the way all bureaucratic organizations work, all ALL. Because those external threats, we circle the wagon. So that's what's most important this week. That's the way bureaucracies work. But we can't ever lose sight of our overarching goal, which is student achievement. Yes, we want to do all these other things because that's the complaint of the week. But in the end, it all circles back to we can't ever lose our focus on achievement. Some districts do, some don't. The good ones don't. The good schools don't lose that focus. You know, I was over at Cliffside this afternoon visiting Elizabeth. They're getting ready for the fall festival. And you know, it's a big community event. It's a big parent event. I mean, it's important, but and they have a lot of support. It's a little former mill community, and the mills are all gone, and they're on hard times, and it kind of holds that little community together. But the truth of the matter is Elizabeth's little elementary school at Cliffside was the highest scoring elementary in their district, because she hadn't lost her focus on what's important. She knows that fall carnival, the parents will be happy in the community and all that, but it won't keep her job if they slip into Title I. That's how it goes. So while that may be important this week, we have to keep our eye on the prize. And so, yes, we get a lot of conflicting information, as Lauren pointed out, but we're supposed to be smart enough to wade through that and know what's at the end of the day, what's really important. Because you can get bogged down in things that aren't. And when we're together next, remind me to tell you the Ellenborough Fair story. All right, Lauren, back to you. Thank you.
I'm done.
All right, thank you. All right, Jimmy's going to wait till next week because he is still at the ball game. He's with us on his iPhone. So let me share my screen. So we're going to skip to Shaquetta, and she's with us tonight. So I'll stop my share and turn off my camera so she can get on.
All righty. All right, I'm going to try to present in present mode.
I like present mode. It leaves me a border at the top where I can put y'all's pictures.
Okay, is that good?
That's fine.
All right, so I read part 3 of the book, and it focuses on the human resource frame. So chapter 6, chapter 7, and chapter 8, I am going to be talking about tonight. So chapter 6 focuses on the human side of organizations. So people want to know, how well would this place work for me? And organizations want to know, how do we find and retain people with the skills and attitudes to do the work? So employees are the most valuable assets. So treating people well is a cornerstone of organization success. All right, so this chapter talked about a human resource frame, and it's based on these core assumptions. Organizations exist to serve human needs rather than the converse. So organizations need ideas, energy, and talent, but people need careers, salaries, and opportunities. People and organizations need each other. When the fit between individual and system is poor, one or both suffer. Individuals find meaningful and satisfying work, and organizations get the talent and energy they need to succeed. And then a good fit benefits both. The two questions that I just asked on the other slide are closely related, because fit is a function of, one, how well an organization responds to individual desires for useful work. 2, how well jobs let employees express their skills and sense of self. And 3, how well work fulfills individuals' financial and lifestyle needs. So a number of theorists have developed models of what they call workplace motivation. And here are some of the more known, each listing things that people want. So there's a broad agreement that people want things that go beyond money, such as doing good work, getting better at what they do, bonding with people, and then finding meaning and purpose. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is one of the oldest and most influential. People are motivated by a variety of wants. So Maslow grouped human needs into like 5 categories or basic categories and ranked them from lowest to highest. So physical well-being and safety must be met first. Then individuals move up to their social needs and ego needs. And then at the top is self-actualization. This view has been widely accepted and influential in managerial practice. Then Hesberg argued that intrinsic factors like working conditions and company policies can make people unhappy, but don't really motivate them to be more productive. So he insisted that the things that motivate us are intrinsic to work itself. Things like achievement, responsibility, and recognition for work well done. And then all the other theories here share the view that motivating people requires understanding and responding to the range of needs that they bring to the workplace. So one of the key theories they talked about, or the chapter discusses, is the Victor Vroom's expectancy theory. So this theory focuses on how individuals decide how much effort to put into any given activity. His views hold that the individual implicitly or explicitly make decisions based on these 3 questions. So how much will your performance improve if you work harder? Do you believe that more effort will produce better work, or that it may not make much difference? Will you learn more or get better grades? Finally, how much do you care about rewards and the rewards you expect from better performance? So let's just say from a student's perspective, your first question is, how much will my performance improve if I work harder? Do you believe that more effort will produce better work, or that it may not make a difference? And then the next question is, how much do you expect to be rewarded if you get better work or do better work? Will you learn more or get better grades? And then the final question is, how much do you care about the reward that you expect from better performance? So do you care a lot or not very much about your grades? And then the stronger the links you see between effort, performance, and rewards, the more motivated expectancy theory predicts you will be. So note that expectancy theory is a theory about how people make choices, not about what they value or why. So in this chapter, Bowman and Deal discusses what they consider a conflict between human personality and management practices. So Argyris argued that employees try to stay sane by looking for ways to escape frustration at their jobs. So he identifies 6 different options. They either withdraw, which is through chronic absenteeism or just simply by quitting. They stay at the job, but they withdraw psychologically, becoming passive and looking for ways to like cope just to get paid. They resist by sabotaging things for management. They may look to climb the hierarchy for a better job. This may work for some, but there are not many positions available, especially in education. Many people are reluctant to move up. They form unions or alliances to ensure that the practices are changed at the job if they don't agree with it. Or the last one was interesting to me. They teach their children to believe that hard work does not pay off. And I thought about education. That was a good example. Some students or children feel that because teachers work so much overtime and do a lot of work, but it's not rewarded through their salary. So that's a good example for that.
Rogers is also famous for his double loop theory, which everybody knows. That's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's also Chris Argyris. That one is kind of more popular in terms of theoretical frameworks for dissertations, but a lot of his stuff is really good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move to chapter 7, which focuses on improving human resource management. So Bowman and Deal states that Only in the late 20th century did business leaders begin to believe that investing in people is a way to make money. So a guy named Owen suggested an excellent route to long-term success is investing in employees and responding to their needs. So here my questions were, how can HR strategies be adapted to better support employee engagement? And then why would managers resist better ways to manage people? So many organizations do get it right. They understand the need to develop an approach to people that flows from the organization's strategy and human capital needs. So many organizations with productive people management has its own distinct approaches, but most include variations of these strategies. So the whole chapter, chapter 7, focuses on these principles or human resource principles and those specific practices. So the first one is to develop and implement an HR philosophy, and the philosophy provides direction, and the practices make it real. Then it talks about hiring the right people. So turnover rates are lowered when you hire people that believe in your vision for the district. Turnovers hurt performance because those newcomers come in, they lack the experience, they lack the skills, and they lack the local knowledge. And this increases errors and reduce efficiency. Then it says keep employees, and to keep people, some strategies are to protect their jobs, promote from within, and then give people a piece of the action. And then it talks about rewarding well. So Bowman and Deal use Costco as an example. Costco pays their employees more than their competitors. In fact, 70% more than Sam Club employees. And if you pay the best wages, you get the highest productivity. So pay should reflect value added. Paying people more than they contribute to the company does not make sense. So pay top dollar for exemplar contributions of skills, motivated, and involved employees. And then it talked about protecting jobs. Long-term commitment is possible, but not easy. Job security should be the cornerstone of human resource philosophy. Promoting within encourages both management and employees to invest time and resources in upgrading their skills. It fosters trust and loyalty, and then it capitalizes on knowledge and skills of veteran employees. Sharing the wealth means aligning employee rewards more directly with company success. For example, principals get bonuses, but the schools, or really it's the teachers that are doing most of the work. So we need to start sharing the wealth. Investing in employees, undertrained workers harm the organization. The benefits of investing in them is developing that human capital, and it shows long-term benefits. Empowering employees, invest in staff development. Empowerment includes keeping employees informed and encouraging autonomy and participation. Redesigning work, fostering team, promotes, which basically implies a democratic workplace where employees are an integral part of the decision-making process. And then promote diversity. A good workplace is very serious about treating everyone well, so it makes good business sense. A study found that organizations with more diverse management at all levels were more productive. These organizations develop a variety of internal diversity initiatives. So that was chapter 7. All right, so chapter 8 focused on interpersonal and group dynamics. So what is really happening in this relationship? What can I do about it? And what motives are behind other people's behaviors? So this chapter describes theories of interpersonal competence and emotional intelligence that explains how they influence office relationships. So Argyris and Schoen's work on theories for action, and Salovey and Mayer's work on emotional intelligence. And both of these emphasize universal competence. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Argyris and Schoen's theory for action. So Aguirre emphasized the importance of interpersonal competence as a basic managerial skill. He shows that managers' effectiveness is often impaired because they either over control, ignore feelings, and are blind to their impact on others. So it gives like some, this model guides what people actually do. They give core values and action strategies. And then we're going to talk about the consequences for those behaviors. So the first one, it says define and achieve your goals. And then action strategy would be define and manage the environmental or the environment unilaterally. And so the consequences, it says, is you will be seen as defensive, inconsistent, fearful, selfish. You won't know about the negative consequences of your action when you do that. He then talked about maximize winning and minimize losing. And the action or strategy is own and control whatever is relevant to your interests. And when you do that, you create defensiveness in interpersonal relationships. You don't question your core values and assumptions. Then the next one is minimize expressing negative feelings. And the action strategies is unilaterally protect yourself. You reinforce defensive norms when you're doing this, mistrust risk. You test your assumptions and beliefs privately, not publicly. And then the last one was be rational, unilaterally protect others from being upset or hurt. And the consequence would be key issues become undiscussable, unconscious collusions to protect yourself and others from learning. So this particular model shows a core assumption that relationships and organizations are dangerous and you have to look out for yourself or someone else may do you in. This assumption leads individuals to follow a predictable set of steps in their attempts to influence others. So this model here rarely yields happy places to work. And then they talked about another type of model, which emphasized integration of advocacy and inquiry. So as you can see, it's the window. It shows if there's low advocacy and low inquiry, it's called passive. High advocacy and low inquiry is assertive. If you show low advocacy and high inquiry, is accommodating. And then high advocacy and high inquiry is integrative. So it emphasizes common goals and mutual influences. You communicate openly, publicly test assumptions and beliefs. If you combine advocacy with inquiry, advocacy includes statements that communicate what an individual actually thinks, knows, wants, or feels. And inquiry seeks to learn what others think, know, want, or feel. So this model asks managers to express openly what they think and feel and to actively seek understanding of others' thoughts and feelings. So another theorist they taught in this chapter is Solovey. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Solovey and Mayer's emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is a label for skills that include awareness of self and others and the ability to handle emotions and relationships. So you have a perceive emotions. So perceiving emotions, this involves recognizing and identifying emotions in oneself and others, both from your facial expressions, your body language, and your verbal cues. Using emotions to facilitate thought. This is about understanding how emotions can influence thinking and decision making. It's the ability to harness emotions to enhance cognitive processes. And then understanding emotions, this involves recognizing and understanding the patterns, causes, and consequences of emotions. And it's about knowing how emotions change over time and how they can influence the behavior. And then the last one, managing emotions, and this involves regulating one's own emotions and helping others to regulate theirs. So it includes strategies for managing stress, anger, and then other intense emotions. All right, so the chapter goes on to talk about groups and teams in organizations. It talks about informal roles, which they listed 4 different informal roles, which are contributors, collaborators, communicators, and challengers. Then it talks about informal norms, which these are rules to live by, norms that kind of govern how the group functions. Interpersonal conflict, some conflict is expected, but most encounters are predictable. And then leadership and decision making, and this helps develop a shared sense of direction and commitment. So employees are hired to do a job, but always bring social and personal baggage with them, right? So at work, they spend much of their time interacting with others one-on-one and in groups. So both individual satisfaction and organizational effectiveness depend heavily on the quality of interpersonal relationships and team dynamics. So people frequently employ theories in use, which are like behavior programs that emphasize self-protection and the control of others. Argyris and Schoen developed an alternative model built on values of mutuality and learning. And Salovey and Mayer underscored the importance of emotional intelligence, which is social skills that include awareness of self and others, and then the ability to handle emotions and relationships. Thank you for your attention.
If you'll go back to one of your first slides there where you listed all your theorists. There you go. There we go. All right. So Squid had about 10 or more theorists. And good, I always want us to make sure we have a theoretical background or framework or know what we're working off of. You know, I'm a big Hertzberg fan. I'm also a big Argyris fan. I have 3 more that I want to add. You can stop your share now, Shaquita. I have 3 more that I want to add to tonight's work. And again, this is relevant when you're doing dissertation work. Eventually you'll find one of these people or they'll find you. And I want to give you a couple more recommendations if you're doing anything that has to do with human resources. The first one is kind of the gold standard. And this is it, the Getzels-Google model. This one is most specifically for schools on how they work, the organizational dimension and the personal dimension, the nomothetic and the idiographic. Basically what it says is for organizations to work, what organizations need and want employees to be able to do is what the employees want or need to be able to do, what they want to do. And if you do that, everybody gets their needs met. That's a really good one. That's an overarching framework. And then you pick one of these other ones. Most of these that Shaquita had on the screen were secondary. The how to, this is the what to. This is the gold standard in organizations on how they work. It's the most widely recognized and useful framework for understanding administrative and supervisory behavior, especially for educators, primarily for schools. A lot of these are just kind of specific to different organizations. This one was developed for schools. It is the gold standard. So if you're doing anything in personnel, you might want to start with this one. All right. So this is the good one. Getzels and Google. All right. Now we have a couple more that I want to make sure we hit that are more the how-tos. And of course, that would be Richard DeFore and how PLCs work, how you do group work. That's a how-to. That's not a what-to. That's a how-to. How to set norms, roles, values, deliverables, those kinds of things. If you're doing anything with group work in schools, DeFore is probably going to be your secondary theorist. And then the last one, of course, is Whitaker, Todd Whitaker. Again, that's a how-to. That's what we should be looking for, and that's in teacher empowerment. We always talk about empowerment, and so if we look at what are the 5 levels of empowerment according to Todd Whitaker, let me get this one up right quick. Right here, and they go. It's in counterintuitive. The level of difficulty or prestige or the move up, he has them listed in reverse. The first one is the first level of teacher empowerment. Have input on professional development. That means you teach other teachers. School improvement plan, school-wide policy, that's curriculum, budget, and then of course the holy grail is being on the hiring of other teachers. Again, this is a theoretical framework, but this is a secondary theorist of how to, not what to. But if you're doing something about teacher empowerment, this is one of those. This is a go-to theoretical framework. If you're doing something on teacher empowerment or teacher efficacy, this would be the one. So again, if you're doing something with PLCs in the personnel realm, this is personnel course. If you're doing something with PLCs in the personnel realm, you got to make sure you go through the 4. If you're doing something on the empowerment realm with personnel, you got to make sure you go through Whitaker. And if you're doing something with organizations about personnel, you got to make sure that you start with Get, Sales, and Good. But that may not be your framework, but you got to start there because it is the one designed for us as educators. And then Chiquetta did a good job of outlining. Most of those are all secondary. Our secondary people, how it works, remembering. We can get by with one theorist if they tell us what to do and how to do it. If not, we need 2, a conceptual framework, what to do and how to do it. But our theoretical basis of what we do in dissertation work has to be based on what we ought to do and how we ought to do it. We got to cover both ends of that for a dissertation to work because it is action research. We got to make sure that we hit both ends of that. All right. What's next? Jimmy's going to present next week, so I won't hold you over. We've done our hour tonight. We'll add Jimmy's presentation to next week's list of things to do. Kind of a summation tonight. Education is a people business. We employ people and we work with people. It's a piece of, and I think what Chiquetta had at the end there is most relevant is social skills. Emotional intelligence, a big part of that, again, self-awareness, empathy, motivation. But that social skills piece that you have to deal with people, that's the part that you can't discount. And unfortunately, I can't give that to you. We've talked before about Johari's window. I know it's old and some of it's outdated in the modern world, but I'm telling you, the thing that you should take away from the activity of a Johari's window is that self-awareness piece, that we all have blind spots, and that's what we got to work to control. We can't see how other people see us, but if we get enough feedback, we can. That's the thing. If we'll listen to what people tell us, we can get some insight through that window, that blind spot that we all have. But again, it's a people business. We employ people, we work with people. We don't manufacture desk chairs or widgets. And so in personnel, your social skills are primal. They are the most necessary thing. I think that's the big takeaway on both Lauren and Chiquetta's presentations tonight, is that you have to have the social skills to pull any of this stuff off. And part of that social skill, going back to Lauren's, is that self-awareness is your own cognitive or confirmation bias. That's self-awareness. You have to know you have those biases, but it all circles back to self-awareness. All right. Anybody have anything for the good of the group tonight? It's good to see you all. I'm looking forward to you again next week. Keep cranking out that work. I tell you, y'all would be doing great if you had a better instructor. You're doing fine as the way you are. I'll see you next week. Everybody have a good week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.